Hey guys, Miss
Hello.
Michaela here with Mick. Thank you for coming back again, Mick. We're doing another big.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Were you going to tell them I bribed you because you're the one that brought snacks this time?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I was bribed. So today's episode of Book Connection is in honor of St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to be talking about all things Irish. And for today, Mick is going to start us off on the adult books. You have so many.
I know, and this is just a sample. The library is a really good place to discover a different culture or get more involved in a culture you think you're familiar with. And just as some examples, I chose some of my favorites. And looking at nonfiction, this is a book called So You Think You're Irish. Hundreds of questions on everything Irish, from James Joyce to the Blarney Stone by Margaret, Kellerer. I thought you'd be familiar with this. And this is an example of the kinds of things, even if you can't be with your family on St. Paddy's Day this year, or you could do this stuff virtually, which I plan on doing with my children, haven't told them yet. It has a series of questions and answers, and I especially like the one about food. This is for you and your favorite. What is the basic ingredient for what Jonathan Swift called a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food, whether stewed, roasted, baked, or boiled, and I make no doubt will be equally served in a fricassee or a ragout?
Was that the one where he was... Oh, go ahead.
Yes. A young, healthy Irish child. B, a goose. C, garlic. D, onions.
It's A.
Yes, it is A. Love. Jonathan Swift. Based from his book, Modest Proposal, where his satiric attempt to tell people about the starvation going on in Ireland and the involvement of the English. We won't go any further. Another one I thought you'd like, Irish Cures, Mystic Charm, and Superstitions by Lady Wilde, who is Oscar Wilde's mother, illustrated by Marlene Ekman. This was written about 130 years ago, but it's collected hundreds of ancient spells, cures, proverbs, omens, different types of paraphernalia. One of my favorites is, well, there's a lot of favorites, but I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, let's see. Poetry-wise, you can't go wrong with Seamus Heaney. This is a collection of his works. He was, of course, the '95 Nobel Prize winner in literature. I would highly suggest Death of a Naturalist, if you're into poetry. Your favorite? Oh, I forgot. And of course, I had to explain to my husband this is an actual fact. How the Irish Saved Civilization, of course. This is the untold story of Ireland's heroic role from the fall of Rome to the rise of medieval Europe by Thomas Cahill. Very scholarly, humorous. What I like, a very keen understanding of human nature, especially Irish human nature. The Irish are rarely given acknowledgement for the contributions they made to European culture. When the barbarians at that period of time were looting Rome everywhere and burning books, the Irish took upon themselves to copy all the literature that they could find by hand. Then it talks, a central figure in this book, of course, is the 5th century Bishop Patrick, first to come out against slavery, by the way. And what I like about it, what I like about St. Patrick, and I didn't know if we were going to get into him, is that he had a very deep understanding of the Irish proclivity towards mysticism of nature, and he involved that when he was working with the people. So I like that book. Oops. Food, of course.
That's why I came today.
Yes, this is my, well, we won't go into that. This is Ireland's Green Larder, The Definitive History of Irish Food and Drink by Margaret, Hickey. This is mostly taken from the ancient system of, I think it's pronounced Cahill, which is fields, the fields place in Ireland. It's an archaeological site about 1,500 years back to today, is what they focus on. And it's more a history of the day-to-day life of people, diaries, letters, ballads, things like that. You'll find out stuff by the warrior queen Maeve. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. Brilliant red hair, I was told. Died after being hit by a slice of hard cheese.
What a way to go.
I know. And he got that from an interview with the cheesemaker, of course. It's just dotted with recipes, from strong tea to Irish rituals and superstitions. Also a plus. Not enough pictures, but you can't have it.
You know how when you find a recipe online and like the person that's sharing the recipe always starts off with this like really long diatribe about a trip they took to Europe? I would much rather hear about how like
somebody got killed by a piece of cheese.
Like that's how hardy the cheese
really
is.
Hard cheese. We have lots of biographies. Another way that you can explore a culture. Of course, we do have Jonathan Swift, one of Michaela's favorites. This is Jonathan Swift, His Life and His World by Leo Damrosch. It talks about, of course, Gulliver's Travels, where he's not about it, and Modest Proposal, of course. But he also talks about aspects of his life that I was totally unfamiliar with. So, just saying. Another biography, and this is relatively new, and I'm currently reading this right now, and I find it fascinating. This is Walking with Ghosts, a memoir by Gabriel Byrne, the actor. You might remember him. He was in HBO's In Treatment, where he played a psychiatrist. Very, very well done. He revisits his childhood in Ireland, and as he does, and he talks about what formed him, what he thinks does, he reflects about aspects of his life as a successful actor and how that could hurt him. I guess all the attention, that sort of thing. Oh, he talks about one of my favorites, and this is a tradition in my family. I didn't know others. His mother had a way to, when he was getting a bit too, what would you call it? Uppity, I guess you would call it. She would find ways to cut him down by sharing embarrassing childhood stories when other people were around the house. Love that.
That's just good parenting.
It is melancholic, but it's gem-like. I really like. It's a totally different way of writing, not different, but a nice way of writing a biography.
And as you said, he is a handsome man.
Oh yes, not hard in the eyes, I think is the expression. Now, fiction, really quickly. I chose John Banville, of course, one of my favorites. This is The Sea, the winner of the 2005 Booker Prize for Literature. Written in first person, very reflective, more like a journal of a man named Max, who's inclined to write about childhood memories, death of his wife, that sort of thing. Didn't sound interesting, but it is very. Now, John Banville has a secret, and that's not a secret any longer. His most recent mystery, by the way, came out with his own name on it. For a while, he felt it was appropriate to not write under his own name when he decided to write some mystery novels. So this is Christine Falls by his new name, pseudonym, Benjamin Black. This is, and I think you can find, they did a 2 or 3 episode series where, of all people, Gabriel Byrne plays the main character, Quirk, who's a heavy drinking pathologist who's trying to solve some crimes in a very social upheaval in Ireland at the time. Very crisp, very tightly written, very dialogue driven, which is very different than his normal fiction. So I know Michaela said she likes Benjamin
I did
Black.
like that book.
You have to love Roddy Doyle. This is a star called Henry, the first volume in the last Roundup series. This is the early life of a young Henry Smart in the slums of Dublin to about his early 20s. And the time period, this gentleman is personally acquainted with historical figures like Michael Collins, the famous revolutionary soldier in the Irish Rebellion. You meet characters like Granny Nash, who has an insatiable appetite for books and doles out info in trade. If you give her a book, she'll give you some information about what's happening on the streets, troop movements, that sort of thing. Towards the end, he begins to question violence as a tool for social change. So, that one. And not to think that I'm really dwelling with male authors. I have to recommend Tanya French. She's Irish-American. This was her first debut novel, In the Woods. Very award-winning, won every award that I know of for McCavity, Edgar. This starts the Dublin Murder Squad series with 2 Irish detectives. A little on the thriller-oriented end of mysteries, but I think you might like it. We also have movies that you can explore. You have to watch The Quiet Man. I think it's a law in America on St. Paddy's Day. This is where Sean Thornton is a retired American boxer, returns to Ireland, the town of his birth, and a courtship of Mary Kate. Yes, it's a classic. But we also have more modern takes We have Undine, The Commitments, which is based, back again, on a novel by Roddy Doyle, and Waking Ned Devine. We have several movies which we'd be glad to recommend to you if you're trying to find something to share online with your friends or family. If you're interested in exploring the language, we have Start Irish by the Michael Thomas Method, Michelle Thomas Method, excuse me. This is the first hour of an 8-hour Foundation Irish course history. Great in the car, because you're a captured audience and you have to repeat. And then music-wise, you can't go wrong with the Chieftains, who I happen to have met when I was in college. Thank you very much. Yes, they're great. Very traditional band in Dublin, started about 1962. You can't go wrong with Gaelic Storm. It's a Celtic band from Santa Monica, California. My son really likes it. And last but not least, the Dropkick Murphys, American Gaelic punk band from Quincy, Massachusetts. We have you covered here at the library. Now, what for the little ones?
All right, so I'll start off with my music since you finished. So our CD is Celtic Dreamland, and it's just, you know, some nice, quiet lullaby music in that fashion. For our DVD that I brought over, we have Discoveries, Ireland, Music and Dance, A Rich Culture. And that's all I brought for audiovisual, I'll be honest. You'll probably find more on Hoopla. But moving on to books, this one is my favorite. It's the cutest. It's The Last Snake in Ireland, a story about St. Patrick. I really enjoyed the illustrations in this and the sassiness of the snakes. I'm terrified of snakes, but I also find them intriguing and adorable, just as long as they're not anywhere near me. Terrifying creatures, but so pretty. I brought 2 nonfiction books about what you can see when you travel through Ireland. The first one is Exploring Countries, Ireland, and Exploring Countries has like a whole series of different countries that you can find. It's about a 4th to 5th grade level. And then I also have a Benjamin blog and his Inquisitive Dog Guide, which tells about Benjamin blog and his travels through Ireland.
So it's a series, this one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's told in blog format, so it's the kid, you know, going around saying what he sees when he travels through.
Oh, cool.
And at the end of the book, it includes a cute little pop quiz. By the way, if you happen to borrow our books and you see a quiz in there, please don't write it.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So after this, I have some erasing to do. In addition to that, I have a couple of Irish fairy tale books, or fables. So the first one I have is 30 Chilling Tales, Short and Shivery, retold by Robert D. Sanssouci. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. Somebody can correct me at any time. So these are all spooky little tales. And then I have Great Irish Legends for Children, and I love the image on the front cover. It's beautiful.
Beautiful illustration.
And if you guys haven't guessed, I read sad books all the time. I don't know how to prop this up now. Is that working? I think it worked. Okay. So my sad book is Feed the Children First, Irish Memories of the Great Hunger. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about this is it has a lot of classic paintings on each page, which are just beautiful, and it helps to illustrate kind of what was going on. It also has photographs, but it's super sad, which I love sad things. I'm a sad person, that's what I do.
And it's okay for children to read about things that are sad.
It's important for them to read about things that are sad.
So there's not a rude surprise when they run into their first sad thing.
Yes. But it's told in a way that's easily, or it's broken down in a way that's easily digestible. And again, I really like the pictures. That's why I present the kids' books.
Speaking of which, that's beautiful.
This is another, beautiful book. It's stories of the saints, so it's not specifically about Irish saints, it's saints around the world. But one of my favorite saints presented is, oh, this is her, Bridget of Ireland. She's the patron saint of blacksmiths, brewers, children whose parents are not married, children with harsh fathers, fugitives, poets, the poor, printing presses, and Ireland.
Oh, she's a very useful saint.
She is. So if you're interested in reading about the patron saints of Ireland or the saints from around the world, I would recommend this. The illustrations are as beautiful on the inside as they are on the outside.
I have one more that I forgot.
Okay.
We have a selection for the camera operator. The camera operator, if you may not know, is a well-renowned baker. And though we do not have this in the system, we do have it available on Hoopla. This is Irish Puddings, Tarts, Crumbles, and Fools. 80 Glorious Desserts by Margaret M. Johnson. A lot of these recipes, the original are English, that the Irish took and made it their own. I have to put that in there. But camera operator, you're going to love some of these. I personally would recommend the Bushmills boiled fruit cake, the lemon ginger scones, which I expect, but this is what we're having in our house this holiday. Tipsy pudding and spiced wine with honey cream cheese. I know. Anyway, that's for the camera operator.
It could also be for me if you make it.
But
thank you guys for joining us today.
Thanks again for putting up with us.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.